talk about what everybody wants to talk about. We got to see Vit Krejci back,
Dude.
right? Isn't that what everybody's excited about?
So excited to see Vic. Nah, we're not on.
All right, cool. Well, how about Abdul Nader? I saw he was back in the House of the Hawks.
Yeah. That's cool.
But Trae Young was back. But really, we want to know what's up with Josh Giddey, dude. We got to see the Bulls first, and I don't know. What do you think about that lineup? What do you think about Zach LaVine being shifted to the forward? So really, they got 3 point guards out there with Kobe White. I guess Kobe's a two guy. I don't know. What do you think about that situation for Josh? And obviously, we smashed them, so that wasn't a problem.
Well, here's the thing: Cody White is a great player, but this is getting the lineup ready for Lonzo Ball coming back and being healthy. That's all this is. Cody White is really good at playing the backup point guard, backup guard position, whatever you guys want to call it. So I look at more that happening as Lonzo Ball gets back. As long as he's being healthy, then he'll start playing more and more and more. But I mean, that's up to the treatments and everything else like that with Lonzo Ball, whether or not he'll be back to be able to do that. But
yeah, I wouldn't bank on anything.
But this is really about Josh Giddey, man. He had like 14 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists.
Yeah.
He shot pretty well for the most part, 6 for 14. I mean, you can't knock just under 50% from field goals. So to me, it was nice to see that he's been working on the things that he needs to work on to have a successful career in the NBA.
Yeah, I think the Bulls need to figure out what they're doing in that roster. It would be nice for him to be surrounded with some shooters, but I'm not sure they're going to go all in on him. I didn't think Zach LaVine was coming back. That thing has been in transition for a really long time. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to figure out what they do and how they figure out how to round that roster out. But I'm not really too worried about it. I think they could probably play about 500 basketball and make it to the playoffs, which would be a really good situation for them. But for us, for the Thunder here, we're sitting here looking at this and we're like, we really took care of business. Chet put up a pretty incredible game, career high in rebounds against the Bulls.
Sure.
I think he put up like 24 points or something like that. And then came out and put up another really, really big game. Not a double-double this time, but still like 6 blocks, I think. It was like 20-plus points, 22 points or something, and 9 rebounds. I mean, really just incredible stat-stuffing day for Shea, too, and J-Dub, and just – Dort came out big. I mean, so we're playing dominant basketball, and it's that stifling defense. I mean, our training camp must have been locked in from the first whistle blow, and they have not stopped because the level of pressure that they put on the ball. We have some really interesting new stuff too that they're introducing, like stuff I haven't seen in pros really ever. Maybe I'd say like a 3/4 court trap.
Mm-hmm.
Like we will use that all the time to get the ball out of Trae Young's hands really quickly and make it hard for him to get it back. Advance the ball, by going over the top and throw. Like they were very interesting stuff. All right, I've been rambling. What do you think about it all?
No, I think you're right, and I think that the fact that this team, if you look at simply 89 points to Denver's offense, 95 for the Bulls, and 104 for the Hawks. So, I mean, this is exactly the type of defense we knew that this team was going to be able to, have. This is not a surprise to me. This isn't a shocker for me. We know that this defense is going to be locked in. But watching how Alex Caruso is just so focused on helping the team, and the fact that our leading person for minutes-wise off the bench is Cason Wallace, this is exactly the type of stuff we need to see for this team, because Cason Wallace is a phenomenal player, and the more I see from him, the better I start understanding his place in this team long-term. I love the fact that he got a start against the Bulls. This is what we need. We need to have this team locked in like this. I love Isaiah Joe. To me, he's a great player, but he's a better shooter coming off the bench at this moment of his career for whatever reason. And, Cason Wallace has stepped up. Alex Caruso stepped up. So these guys, whoever takes that starting position, to me, it doesn't really matter. It's just holding it until Hartenstein comes back.
Cason was he took the challenge of Trae. He took it personally. And when he was left on an island with Trey, he took the ball away from him, I think 2 possessions in a row.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that type of pressure without any help, like Trey handles that shit all NBA season. People are always trying to do different things to him, but like Kaysen has that level of defense. So when you put him out there with J-Dub, with Shea, and you're saying to those guys, you're going to put Kaysen on the best offensive player, right? Like all of a sudden that point of attack defense becomes really, really interesting. So I'm fascinated by what he can do. Now, how about J-Dub missing that dunk and then coming back and being like, next back-to-back possessions, he dunked it. And then I think he hit a 3, and it was like game on for J-Dub. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had an easy start to the season. Like a lot of things that have gone easy for him haven't gone easy at this point, but he's still putting up really incredible numbers.
I think he's averaging close to 20 points a game, because I think one game he had 12 points and he's had 24 and 20. So he's getting there for 20 points a game, but
he's still missing stuff that he would consider his easy shit.
And that's what, listen, we need J-Dub to average 20-plus points. We need Chet to average 20-plus points. We need these guys to step up this year. And to me, like, this is a perfect year for them to do it, because they're both on the chopping block for next year for big contracts. If they can't step up now and they can't use money as motivation, then what are we doing? You know, so this team is exactly where we needed to be at this moment, because these guys are playing for long-term contracts this year. These guys are understanding that this is a whole new ball game right now. And man, I got to say though, is the offense looks like we haven't lost a step at all, right? Except for the first quarters, like half, 3/4 of the first quarter, we look sluggish. We look rough, like we're still catching our wind, you know. But our finishes, from the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter to the end of the fourth quarter, like it's stifling our defense, our offense. It's just incredible. So to me, if we had one improvement area that I would like to see that over the last 3 games we struggled, it's the first quarter. It's executing in the first quarter. It's not necessarily taking the open shot, but realizing we have 14 seconds left on the shot clock to attack the hole. You know, like what we saw J-Dub do and the different guys like that as they came out.
So, okay, so right now we're playing, like you said, first half, we're not really turning it on. And the second half, we're putting teams away.
Second quarter, though, we're turning it on the second quarter. It's like
that's some. Okay, but like we're putting teams away in the second half. Like, and really, if you look at it, like the third quarter, like these games are ending in the third quarter. And like this last game, like J-Dub hit that buzzer beater going into halftime to either like take the lead. I think it brought us down by 1. So obviously we weren't like dominant, but this game was not a game by the time we entered the fourth. And you look at it and you say, okay, so if this team could play 1 quarter in the first half as good as they're playing the third quarter in the second half, these games are going to be over within 5 minutes of the third quarter starting.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
A team will come out and try to land a punch. We'll go on a 13-2 run, and we'll be letting I mean, I can't imagine it being much faster that we're putting these games away, because we're putting them away fast, but it could happen.
Here's the thing is that, man, we've talked so much about it on this podcast, but it's that killer instinct. It's that desire that it doesn't matter who it is, we're going to put them away, and we're going to put them away quickly. That takes time, you know, but out of all the years recently, man, this is why I get excited, is this season. You know, we've talked about this season for a long time, and we look at what's happening here, and it's just like, you know, we have Shea almost get a triple-double against Atlanta with 35, 11, and 9. We get against the Bulls, we get J-Dub with 24 points, Chet with 16 rebounds. Again, J-Dub with 8 assists. So these guys are spreading it out, and we're playing at such a high level in understanding of the game. It's no longer now what type of killer instinct we have. It's how far can we get this killer instinct to take us? Because you look at Chet, you look at J-Dub, you look at Shea, and we've never seen a trio like this before. We have not. And when people want to sit there and say, well, this is going to be like this team, or this team was the greatest team in the NBA history, da 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 da, and da da da. Like, we don't give a shit about that. The thing that we give a shit about is when it's all said and done, what our record is at the end of the year, where our placement is for the Western Conference, and how far we can get in the playoffs. But if we're looking at our killer instinct right now, and it's only going to get better and more defined as the season goes on, then we're about to look at one of the greatest seasons in NBA history out of any team, period. And that to me right there should be, good enough for people to be like, okay, I got to stop and just watch. Because this is it. This is what this team is built to do, is be one of those teams that people take a step back and realize that, it's not about winning a championship this year. It's about putting your stamp in the idea that what's happened in Oklahoma City is now the dynasty of the future.
I think one thing that might be hard for everybody to understand is we're only seeing about, I've been thinking about this all day, like what number can we put on this, but maybe 40% of Chet's peak, like maybe 50.
I was going to say closer to 60. And
okay.
But go ahead and tell me why you think yours at.
Well, I think because right now he still has a lot of trouble offensively with two things at this point in the season. Number one, his handle's being picked on a little bit. And number two, his 3-point shot isn't falling. So I have this sense with Chet, like, because I know the type of player he is and who he wants to be in the league and how far he wants to go. If he can put up 22 and 12, like right now, and it feels like, man, he's not quite like completing every play like he wants to, like you can see he has a desire to. What will happen when he gets all of that where it needs to be? People won't be able to like check him just because he'll be in a space of his own. So I look at it and I'm like, that guy should be able to average 35, and I know that like he might not take those shots, but I mean, Shea proved he could average 35, and I'm looking at Chet right now. And I'm like, I guess 22 and 35 is probably more like a 60-40, like you're saying, but the number of players who can go and average 22 is a lot higher than the number that can average 35. And so
Sure.
like that extra like push where you're so elite, where you could do more, but you're focused on other parts of your game and helping your team win in other ways. But I mean, I see him for sure at this point, if his shot gets to the point where it's going, and like what he's trying to do creatively on offense is right there. Like there's no reason to think that what we're seeing is peak Chet.
Yeah.
And that's
You're
incredible, right, especially with a development system that, took Shea, who in year 2 showed promise. But now everybody's debating like how the Clippers could ever have traded Shea. And like it wasn't apparent to a lot of people at that point he would be a superstar. Well, Chet, it's apparent right now he's going to be a superstar if he continues on the trajectory he's at. Where can that lead to? Some people would argue he's closer to his ceiling than, most players at his age, or even Shea was at that age. And that's fair just because, when you get so high up there. But I'm like if Chet plays for 12 to 15 years, right, he could reasonably be during 8 to 10 of those years the best two-way player in the NBA for the majority of those years, just because defensively he's already right there, and offensively all he's got to do is get the repetition. You know what I mean? When it's like when he's just used to it, everybody's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say about that is that Victor will take a lot of that umph away, because the team around San Antonio is going to be built around Victor versus the team being in Oklahoma City a team.
But but here's the thing, right? The reason I don't like that, and I don't think it's fair, is because say you're Magic Johnson, right? Do you feel less good about yourself because Larry Bird exists, or like vice versa? Do you think like Larry Bird suddenly like it's like, oh man, it sucks that I had to play in a time with like Magic? No, like these guys lift each other's games and they actually make it like more special. Like I get that like the idea of okay, like MVP is a singular award that's handed to whatever. So like that argument, but
Because
on the flip side of it,
I'm saying that
on the flip side of it, if you say like all NBA or someone averaging 30 plus, 12 plus, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, and you look at it and you're saying like, yeah, okay. So maybe I oversaid it like saying the best two-way player because everybody can't help themselves whenever you mention anything with Chet right now. He's like attached to like Victor in people's minds. But I think
sure.
we all need to kind of like undo that. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard not to, but I love the way Victor plays the game.
It's
like
not,
when he's playing free, like, and he's shooting from logos and stuff. Like it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like, would I be that dominant if like I'm 6'2", so if the goal was like 8 feet and I could just like go like this and like. Would I be as dominant as Victor was if I was playing against little kids? And I'm like, now when he's sitting back shooting against those logo shots, I'm like, I wouldn't be knocking those fuckers down.
Sure.
I don't care how low the goal was. Like, so he plays in a different way, but they're so different, man. Like,
but it's not
the way Chet plays off the bounce and stuff like that, and he's like shifty and everything. Like, Victor's just like,
it's not comparing Chet and Victor's game. It's saying Victor's going to win more MVPs and more defensive players of the year than Chet will. And this is why, because Chet doesn't want necessarily that. He wants championships. If that was so important to Chet, then Chet would go play someplace else, or he would have been okay with going to Orlando. My point is that he wants championships. He does not want these accolades that go next to his name of MVP 4 times or whatever. I'm just saying Victor is more conscientious about that shit.
Kobe won 5 MVPs and 1 championship, right? And I'm just kidding. Everybody knows I'm wrong about that because he won 5 championships and 1 MVP, and everybody knows it's fucked up, right? How do you win 5 chips and 1 MVP? Because exactly what you're saying, right? You don't go out of your way to win MVPs. You go out of your way to win championships.
That's it. That's the difference between these two guys.
In the end, what made Kobe so legendary, right, combined with the 5 championships, because there's been people who've won more that weren't so legendary, it was the 28 plus per game every year, right, in pursuit of those 5 championships. That also, and when you look at what makes KD so legendary, right, it's 28 plus per game every year, right? When you get to the point where you're averaging 28 a game, like you're in that small handful of players that are elite. And like you look at a number like Shea put up last night, like it was like 30, 35. 11, and 9, right? Like that's a great game for LeBron at any phase of his career, right? Like that's a great game for Oscar Robertson, right? That's a great game for all the greats. And that's what I mean when I look at like what I expect from Chet, and when I say best two-way player, I know I make it, I kind of get, but I more mean like historically, if you can average close to 30, average double-digit boards, then like you would be an MVP, most years in NBA history, and that's just like that. I mean, like what did Tim Duncan when he got his MVP? Like what did he? I think did he only win 1? I don't remember exactly, but it was always something around there, 28 and 12 or something like that, and that's what I expect from Chet coming up. Like I really do. I mean, I think he's giving us a taste this year, and I wasn't actually expecting it.
Sure.
The signs were there. The signs that were there that he was ready to take that step. But I still was just kind of like, I didn't want to come out and be like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to obviously average over 20 immediately this year.
Yeah.
But I can see that pathway to 25 this year. I can see that pathway to 28 next year. And it becomes really apparent.
Let's just talk about it because Denver Nuggets, they're old. We own a little bit of their future. We've got the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's a mixed bag right now, and no one really knows what they're going to do. Portland's young, Utah's young, Golden State's old, Clippers are old and abused. Lakers are definitely old. Phoenix Suns old. Sacramento Kings mid, right?
Mid to old.
So Dallas Mavericks, mid to old, Houston Rockets, young, Memphis Grizzlies, young, new Pelicans, ish, San Antonio Spurs, right? So my point about this is that we're in this unique tweener stage. You know, we're actually the youngest team in the NBA this year. And thinking about that is saying that we're in that tweener stage, that we're not quite what you can consider the youngest team in the NBA, even though we are. But the way we play isn't like that. And the fact that all these old guys, teams that are supposed to be winning championships at the twilights of their careers aren't. It's opening up in this unique way for this Thunder team to come in and snatch away 2-3 championships before anybody knows what just happened. Before these young teams have a chance to mature. Before the Dallas Mavericks can go a season without having major injuries to their major players. Before, you know what I'm saying? Like, before all this other shit that's happening in the NBA. And here's the thing. Victor is going to get his Robin, right? He will get his Robin. But it's going to take him something happening to the players there and them all of a sudden getting a draft pick that is a top 2, top 3, pick. That's the only way. Because at this point, I mean, you're playing catch-up.
Actually,
playing catch-up.
The way that it works for the Spurs, right, is they look at Victor getting hurt early in one season. They shut him down. It's just what they did with David Robinson to get Tim Duncan. Like,
absolutely.
If you look at how the Spurs win, they win by getting number 1 picks. They figure out how to get 2 number 1 picks on the same team, and then they figure out how to win championships.
They don't need to be back-to-back years because last year sucked.
Right.
But this year,
I mean, but okay, Tim Duncan shows up, right, and then he figures out how to get some done without more number 1 picks. So it's not like they only have one strategy, but like in the end, I really do think there's a situation where like they'll shut Victor down as soon as it becomes apparent that they can't make the playoffs.
That's our biggest long-term threat in the West is San Antonio. And that's why we keep bringing them up, guys, is because they're a nemesis at this moment. And the reason that we have to look at them and say in 5 years down the road, they're going to be a problem is just like Shaq was a problem when he played everywhere, except for Cleveland and Boston. But the same reason why, LeBron is an issue. When you have a player that's in the top 2, top 3 of that generation, and I'm saying that Victor is going to be that type of player. It's going to be us versus them in the Western Conference Finals for many, 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 many years. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm excited about it. I'm looking at Chet. I'm looking at Shea. I'm looking at J-Dub. And I'm looking at Cason Wallace and all the other guys that we have that are young and that are, veterans. And I'm saying, can they ever get to this level? I don't think so. I don't think there's any team in the NBA will get to this level because we're not done picking yet. We're not done drafting yet. We're not done getting top 10 picks yet. This team hasn't fully developed yet because we're still the youngest team in the NBA. So what does that tell us, guys? That this is the beginning of something great. And we can sit back and we can enjoy it because that's our job.
Buckle up, bitches. Let's do this.